Greetings. This is community activist Vogel Denise Newsom. This video is an excerpt of the November 16, 2015 meeting, City of Jackson, Mississippi, in regards to the electronic water meters. It identifies the contractor as Siemens, knowledge of public officials. Mayor Yarber shares response from his aunt that I had 2 days to get her water bill taken care of, or she was going to unelect me. Not when the election came, but she was going to unelect me sooner than that. Important to note, the citizens, residents are the employers and the politicians are the employees. Employers, we the people, have the power. Meetings as this are very helpful for legal purposes in that they allow one to obtain information as to what public officials know and when they knew it. Knowledge of engagement in criminal activities, fraud, theft, embezzlement, extortion, bribes, blackmail, etc. We hope you enjoy.
Well, thank y'all for coming tonight. We appreciate you being here. I wanted to be sure that we gave you an opportunity to come out and express exactly what my mama called and expressed to me a little over a month and a half ago when her water bill was $1,000. And we know that she's not using $1,000 worth of water. And we also knew that there were some other things that wasn't happening that would contribute to a water bill being that high. We went into the contract with Siemens a few years ago, and we anticipated that there would be some hiccups, but we did not anticipate that the hiccups would be as drastic as they are. The good thing is that we've been able to identify much of the issues and many of those problems that you all are having and why you're having them. And we want to be able to make sure that we tell you tonight what we're doing to address them, why you're seeing the increases in bills that you are seeing, and more than that, what we're going to be doing going forward. It's important that you understand that if your water bill is high and is not a result of your own, your water will not be turned off, all right? So we are not looking to turn off folks' water because the city is having issues. But we do want to make sure that you're not having the stress and the anxiety that comes with that, because we know that you are operating under a budget, and that budget does not, in most cases, allow you the opportunity to be able to deal with the kinds of bills that you have. So tonight we want to be as clear as we can. We want to address as many of your issues as we possibly can. And again, please know that the frustration that you all have, we are hearing about it. We are hearing about it personally, not just from family members. I got an aunt who told me already that I had 2 days to get her water bill taken care of, or she was going to unelect me, not when the election came, but she was going to unelect me sooner than that. So we hear you. Trust me. We understand. And we want to be as transparent as we can about the process that we're using to address you all's issues. So what we're going to do tonight is we want to ask the Public Works Director to talk to you about the highlights, the primary issues that we have heard from you, that we have discovered during this process that has affected your water bill, why it's looking the way that it's looking, and to talk to you about going forward what we're going to do to remedy it and to fix it as well. And then from there, we're going to turn it over to you, give you an opportunity to voice your concerns, to talk to us about any of the things that we have not addressed through our time of dialogue with you prior to the Q&A. So thank y'all again for coming. We appreciate you. We don't devalue the service that you give to this system and to this enterprise through your payments and through you being a customer of the cities. And we want to make sure that we honor that with giving you quality service. So with that being said, we want to turn it over to Director Powell at this time. Director Powell, if you would come and just take us through the highlights of what's going on with this water bill issue.
Thank you. Good evening. The first thing that I want to reiterate that the mayor said off the bat is we have put a moratorium on water service cutoffs for high bills, except in the case where there are extreme delinquencies that existed before the billing system went into place, before we went live. So there have been a number of high bill issues, and I just want to explain to you what some of the issues are that we're seeing. And when we take questions, I'm sure there will be some other issues that I've not specifically seen or heard about. But I just last week spent 2 days at the Water Sewer Billing Administration. I've been there a couple times since the go live, and I know that it's been extremely frustrating. And the first thing that is very jarring is to get a bill when you're used to seeing a bill for $60 every 2 months, to get a bill that is $60 for 1 month, or in some cases a couple $100 for a 1 month bill. And we recognize that there have been billing errors, and the issue has been going from a 2-month billing period to a 1-month period. In order to make that transition, we had to estimate what we thought was every other month. And based on a formula that was established in the billing system, and the billing system has not been able to really work with that formula. And so we have seen a lot of cases where what was the estimate was actually the system was putting out bills with an estimated consumption or usage for the 2-month period as the 1-month period. And in some cases, the billing system caught those bills, and so we had hang-ups in the billing system that of thousands of accounts. So as of Friday, for instance, we had 22,000 billing segment errors in the system, which amounts to your water and your sewer is 2 different billing segments. So that amounted to about 11,000 bills in the system that were hung up. So the problem with the estimating compounded into bills being hung up in the system. And so those bills have had to be manually processed by our staff in the Water Sewer Billing Administration. And because they're having to manually process those bills, which means they have to go into each of those bills to clear the errors, they have to do what's called an office estimate, looking at the history of your usage. So another issue that we found was that all of the billing history that we had available for some accounts did not transfer to the new system. So the staff is then working between the old system and the new system to make sure that we can do an office estimate, because there's no read available, so that we can get those bills out. And the reason why we're trying to get those bills out is because what some customers have experienced is you haven't received a bill for 2 or 3 months. And so then you get a bill that has 2 or 3 months of water usage on it. And so that's creating a high bill. So it was actual, in some cases it was actual usage, kind of in line with your usage, but it was 2 or 3 months worth of usage, and so that creates a high bill. The other issue that we've experienced is, in order to produce bills, we had 2 months for the meter readers to go out and read the meters, get the reads back in, and get those bills, get customers billed off of those readings. Now our customers are having to read, our meter readers are having to read the same number of meters in a more condensed period. So most of our meter reader, we have groups that we call ledgers that have a couple thousand accounts in them each. Some of those ledgers take 3.5 days, some take 6 to read all of the meters. what the billing system was set up on was that it is expecting to have a read within 3 days of your scheduled bill date. So if the meter readers have read that meter outside of that 3-day window, then the system will create an estimate. Now on to the next problem. Those accounts that had estimates more than 2 or 3 times in a row, the system would no longer create an estimate. At that time, it's looking for an actual read. So to sum it all up, the transition to the new billing system just has not gone as was planned. And essentially, it's because we're going to a new way of doing business from an old way of doing business. We're going from bi-monthly to monthly. And operationally, resource-wise, we've had to make some adjustments. And still trying to focus on getting the most accurate bills we can out. So it's taken us longer to process manually those bills. So that's why we said during this period until the system stabilizes, we're not looking to shut anyone's water off unless you had delinquency prior to, and there have been those cases where there are bills that are high because there was no payments on the bills. In some cases, we hadn't received payments on some bills in more than 6 months. And that was well prior to the new billing system going online. Moving forward, we have the new meters in place. We have 3 groups of meters, which amounts to about 8,000 meters that we're reviewing, that Siemens has turned in to be accepted to be automated reads that go into the system. So we're going through one of those groups at a time as quickly as possible to check them to make sure that the data is accurate so it can start feeding the billing system as was planned so that those meters no longer have to be read. And that should be accurate data coming straight from your meter into the billing system, or those meters coming straight to the billing system. We're going to post a map online with those areas where those meters will be sending automated reads so that everybody is aware of where that is. I think there hasn't been there's been buckets of issues with the bills, and we're trying to understand what has happened and how best we make those adjustments to fix it, to get those, to get bills corrected. So with that, I think we can open it up for questions.
Sir, my name is Paul Johnson, and I'm in Chapter Tillman's ward, should I say. But my question is the old meters versus the new meters. What was so wrong with the old meters, and why are we getting such a discrepancy in the counts? And that's a question there. And why do we have a problem manually reading the meters if there's so much wrong with the erroneous reading with the electric meters and new meters? Why can't we just continue reading them manually until we get the system fixed, adjusted, whatever it takes? It makes no sense to me to see these questions about $2,000 or $3,000 bills when you've had a problem, maybe a couple of $100 bill earlier. But anyway, that's something that I guess you all are working on, and I appreciate that. And if there's a problem, then someone comes out to read the meter. Our Siemens people worked on this, I understand. And I'm asking the question, well, who's monitoring Siemens? If Siemens is doing all of this, I mean, someone from the city has to take that step to monitor them, make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Because the citizens of Jackson are being hurt right now. And I got my meter changed in August. I haven't received a bill yet either. I cringe to think about what it might look like. But I'm going to get a bill. I know that, and we're going to talk about it. So thank you so very much, and I'm sure you all are working on it, but help us out now. Let's get this fixed.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. I'm going to address at least two of them, and I'll ask Director Powell to talk about the manual, why we're not just simply going out having meter readers actually read the meters. The old versus the new meters. When this system was first introduced to the administration, which was the Harvey Johnson administration at that time, the idea was that the Siemens project would assist the city in saving money that we were not saving in the beginning. So the city's losing probably about 40% of its water. And I think that was talked about in a great deal when water rates were talked about being increased a few years ago. So what they discovered was that you got an old meter, and this is the best way I can put it. Not long ago I bought a brand new scale to weigh me. Okay, the scale that I bought to weigh me reflected that I was about 5 pounds heavier than my old scale was reporting. And what we discovered is that the old scale, I think the gentleman who was here earlier talked about being calibrated, but the old scale, just because of the age of it, it wasn't measuring as accurately as this new scale. So come to find out, I really weigh 219 and I don't weigh 214 like I thought I weighed. So when the change out happened, the guarantee from Siemens was that we would be able to capture usage fees with the new meters, where we were losing them with the old meters because they weren't reading as right or as appropriately as they should have been. So that's what the meter project, that's how it came about. That's how it was sold to the council when I was on it. The other piece has to do with who's monitoring Siemens. Well, you know, I take a lot of pride in the fact that our administration was the administration that said to Siemens stop. We said stop because we came in and saw that there were issues, and that as we looked down the road and we looked into November of 2015, we kind of already had an idea that we were going to be seeing some of these issues. And so what we said to Siemens almost 7 or 8 months ago was pump the brakes. You can't go any further until we are clear that you actually have a path to get us out of this mess. Well, the problem is that the path out of this mess has been longer than we thought and longer than we would have liked for it to have been. Unfortunately, we were already in a contracted situation that we could not get out of, and so what we're now having to do is try to work through these issues and make sure that we do it as fast as we can so that you all are not having to bear the brunt of this pain that you're having to bear. So to answer your question, who is watching Siemens? We are watching Siemens. We are now having meetings with top executives from Siemens monthly, and we're doing that where we hadn't been doing that before now. So we're watching, and we're trying to be as pointed as we can to make sure that folks who are accountable are being held accountable, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So I appreciate your question and give me an opportunity to address that.
Hi, I'm community activist, civil rights activist Vogel Denise Newsom, and I just have a few questions, about 3. My first question is, you all mentioned the contractor is Siemens. I just wanted to find out, how did you all go about selecting Siemens? And was that company vetted? The reason being, if I'm not mistaken, my background is doing paralegal work, and Siemens' name, when it was projected or given out, I believe they have issues, if you check their record, with faulty meters, the issues that Jackson's having, as well as some of the areas like in Utica, Bolton, and Edwards. So my concern is whether or not, when you all went with Siemens, did you all check their track record? I stand to be corrected, but that's what stood out when I heard you all project that name of Siemens. I believe they have a history of this type of issue. The mayor mentioned something about being in a contract. And I'm not here to give legal advice because, like I said, I'm a paralegal. If you enter a contract with Siemens and it's under fraudulent intent, in other words, they have this record, there is a legal and lawful way to get out of that contract. My next question is, how were they selected? Whether or not there were other contractors that came forth, and how did they get the contract? And then also wanting to know, because I hear citizens talking about contacting you all, the best way to probably do it, a suggestion is to send things certified mail so that they will have a record. But those are my questions in regards to when Seaman popped out to me.
When I was on council, I think maybe 2012 was when the conversation about this performance savings piece came up. There were two companies at the time. There was Johnson Controls, who had a team of people on their side who were going after the contract, and there was also Siemens, who had a team of local contractors who were on their team as well. If I'm not mistaken, at that time, the mayor selected, I guess, what he deemed to be the most appropriate team. That team was put before the council to be voted on. The council voted on it, and that's where we are. The issue when we talk about the contracting and whether or not we wanted to, try to get out of it, this administration's position from the beginning was that we thought that there could have been a better contractual situation. However, we had gotten so far along in the process that there would have been, in some cases, some irreparable harm done, because we'd already taken out $90 million. And so we have to pay $90 million back. So let's say we decide we're not going to go with Siemens anymore, and we terminate the contract, and that termination does not fall in line with the termination process in the contract. Well, we're then on the hook, and we still have a $90 million responsibility to repay that money. So while, again, this administration knew and understood that the contract was problematic in several ways, but at that point, we were already invested. We were already down the street, and so where we are is trying to wade through the mud in order to get to better waters so that we can have a better situation in the city. But you're absolutely right. The things you're talking about are things that we considered. But it's 2015. That was 2012. I think the actual contract may have been ratified in 2013. And so you're talking about a contract that has gone over the course of 3 different mayors.
And I appreciate that, because when I was away, prior to coming back, there was another deal called the swap deal. And that swap deal involved a big, huge law firm here in Jackson, Mississippi, who knows me very well, by the law firm of Baker, Donaldson, Bierman, Caldwell, and Berkowitz. They came through Jackson and ran this swap deal on Jackson and cleaned the people out, basically. When I read that article when I was in Kentucky, I said, this is unacceptable. But they came in with a big bank called J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, okay, in Wall Street. We're putting members in Jackson, and these law firms are coming in with these scams, what I call them, and cleaning the people out. The people need to know. Now, so like with Siemens, there's a legal process in which the people can follow, but I'm concerned as a community activist and civil rights activist, these heavily populated African American or Black American communities like Jackson, Utica. Okay, is this going on in Rankin, Madison? Then I have to take issue with that. And the people need to know that they have a legal and lawful right to bring a lawsuit against the city of Jackson, naming you in your individual capacity. Powell, Siemens, whoever the board members are. Because this is unacceptable. Moving in through eminent domain. I'm familiar with the law firm. They know me very well. They've only been pursuing me for 25 years. Okay, they represent Field Bryant. We have a lot of issues, and the people are suffering. So I thank you all for the time, but I'm very passionate about it. But it's time to quit taking advantage of the African American population and the people.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm clear, that we're clear on the fact that we initiated this conversation about there being issues. We initiated this almost 9 months ago when nobody was talking about there was a potential problem. So that was a conversation that this mayor and this administration said, everybody hold on, we got a problem coming. And we're going to address this problem, not in November. We're going to start trying to address this problem in January and February. And there were lots of conversation around this city when I said pump the brakes on this thing. And there were a lot of people who were upset about that. And a lot of them were the powers that be that you talk about. So I hear you. I am with you 185%. And my responsibility is to the folks, not only in this room, but to my mama at 1723 Dewey Street with that $1,000 water bill. So we got to get that stuff handled, and we're going to get it handled. And that's why we're here today, to sit in front of you all, to give you the opportunity to talk to us about those issues that you're experiencing individually. And we're saying that we are the right team at the right time to make sure that we deal with this stuff so that it's not dealing with our city inappropriately. Yes, ma'am. Charging. Amen. All right. Bless your heart. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. My name is Gilbert Coleman. I'm from the W.P. Moore subdivision located in Georgetown. I'm here for the same reason, but I have a water problem. I brought a sample with me. Would you like to take a look at it? I also brought some pictures with me. Would you like to take a look at it?
I'll get that.
That is the water in my community. I have no clue. I have no clue. I can't, the health department, when they won't look at it, I can't get no one to look at it, so I say, well, this may be the best place for me to bring it to.
It looks like they were trying to flush the system through using the hydrants, because it was likely that a discolored water complaint was called in.
Well,
so
it wasn't called in. They just happened to come out and flush the water. Mm-hmm. But the water been there all the time.
Well, there are specific locations where we have discolored water issues, and the staff go to those areas to flush the hydrants. But this is an indication of the buildup in the water mains. They're old. They have not been replaced. And over time, you get this buildup in the water mains from the chemicals that we use to treat the water, and it becomes discolored. So that's what this is, settling out of the water.
Well, I have not just that sample. That's present. That's most recently. I have samples from 2005. Same way, same thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same thing. I've been in that area going on 15 years, and that water been there. It's right there today. Mm-hmm. It's right there today. I can run a tub of water, and it's right there.
Yeah.
And what my question is, we voted on a 1% tax hike to fix the infrastructure. I haven't seen anything. You know, it's really basic. You know, if I pay my water bill on time, look like my payment will apply to my account, and whatever the problem with the system is apply my payment to my account. And I think that'll help a lot of issues, a lot of situations. But I'm looking at it something that need to be addressed, but it's not being addressed.
And part of the reason it hasn't been addressed is because we have not had the funds to make the capital improvements to replace water mains that need to be replaced. And you talked about the 1% sales tax. We are starting to get projects underway to address infrastructure, including water mains, but we need a larger capital improvement program, which we've been developing to specifically address water line issues. And this is, you brought in a perfect example. If I could get the name of your street, we can take a look at, because it could be size related. We have several areas where there's some 2- and 4-inch water line, which leads to more discoloration and pressure issues. But this is a citywide problem.
Sure.
Yeah.
Reason I brought that is because I have kids that live in that community, and the kids not have knowledge of what they're drinking. And so whatever that is in the bottom that can get in your system, and you can fall ill, and you never know why you're ill. There's a lot of people in my community have respiratory problems, and you know, and after a certain period of time, those chemicals, if it sit there for 10 years, it can sit in your body also. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, your comment about you having a sample from 2005, it's exactly what we've been talking about all along. The fact that, you know, and I tell the story every now and then about in 1985 how I would go up to West Side, went up to West Side School Community Center with my grandmama for a neighborhood meeting. And the mayor at that time, they were talking about the same stuff we're talking about tonight, they were talking about in 1985. And that's a problem. When in 2015, we're talking about the same stuff that we were talking about in 1985. And so even with the 1% sales tax, let me just be real honest with you. The 1% sales tax, we're generating about anywhere from $11 to $13 million a year. $11 to $13 million a year is what we're generating, or we'll generate from that. That's out of $1.5 billion that we'll need over the next 20 years in order to address all of this stuff. I wish we could go back to 2014 where I would bring the pipe that goes with that water that showed buildup in the pipe about that thick I think it was about a 6-inch line maybe, where that buildup in that pipe was about that thick. And it's exactly what you're talking about. The fact that this can has been kicked down the road for almost 40 years, and in some cases 70 years, where we got the same lines in the same communities, and the sister talked about that earlier, where resources haven't been put in areas where they should have been placed, but they were not. And so the deal was disproportionately done. But what we want to make sure that we're doing going forward is addressing this kind of stuff. Unfortunately, these growing pains hurt, and they're hurting bad. And our responsibility is to see how we can alleviate as much of that, as much of these growing pains as we possibly can until we get the water. But the truth of the matter is that we just got a plan in place. I mean, this city has its first infrastructure master plan. You would think that if your water was that color, that there would have been a plan in place already. But we just got a plan in place over the last 18 months to address this. And so as we are going forward, what we're saying to y'all is while we understand clearly that it ain't our fault, but we also understand it's our responsibility. And we're going to take responsibility for it, and we want you to understand that while it's not our fault, we are taking responsibility. We just need you to work with us as we attempt to do everything we can to make sure we're holding folks accountable, to make sure that we're getting this water the color that it needs to be, and to make sure that when you call down to the Water Sewer Billing Administration, that there's enough staffing available to be able to answer the phone. We're working on building up and beefing up the staffing levels right now. We're going through hiring additional people to help us with that. They've got to be trained in order to come online. But I guess over the last 2 minutes, what I've tried to say to you is we know the bigness of this problem, and that's why we worked on putting a plan in place, finding the money to get it done, getting over $20 million within the course of a week over the last several weeks in order to address this stuff. So that's what we're doing. And I hear you. I've been out there with Councilman Stokes, and we walked around the neighborhood and seen stuff from dilapidated houses to messed up infrastructure to streets that need to be resurfaced. We got a lot of problems. And we didn't get here overnight. We won't get out of it overnight, but we will get out of it.
I also come in the spirit of light.
Yes, sir.
GHT.
Yep.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my creator to monitor this situation. I think, this land belongs to the light side of the spirit. So I'm going to send my prayer to him, about this meeting tonight, because this has been going on too long.
Yep, I agree.
And it's not about money. It's about doing what you know is right.
Yes, sir.
Because these people is dying. I mean, everybody been died off before it be addressed again.
Yeah, some folks have died off. You're right. Thank you, brother. You don't want this back, do you? Yes. Okay. Yeah, right. Again, look, sir. Again, y'all, we get it. We know full well that this process is a horrible process that all of y'all are having to deal with and go through. And we're not running from that, and we're not trying to hide behind anything. And what we're here tonight to do and to say to you is that we want to be sure that we're addressing this in the best possible way that we can. We got a lot of issues. These issues have resulted or come about rather as a result of a plan trying to be put in place years ago with this Siemens contract, and it just hasn't been panning out the way that we would like for it to. But again, we're the right team at the right time to get us through these issues, and we know that because we're able to identify the issues and start to do the kinds of things in conjunction with Siemens to try to remedy it and to get some solutions to you. We heard a great suggestion from the audience tonight. I'll be following up on that suggestion tomorrow to see how that could work in real life. And those are the kinds of things that we're asking y'all to do. If you have suggestions, come, talk to us. We want to hear it. If you have any more issues, if there are some things that you need to know more specifically, don't hesitate to call our Constituency Services Office at 601-960-1084. Those folks want to work with you. They want to answer the phone. They want to be attentive. Work with us. The Water Sewer Business Administration, the folks out there their heads are underwater. They are drowning with the amount of work that they're having to do as a result of this transition and this process. So y'all, please, they're frustrated like you're frustrated. They're upset like you're upset. And a lot of them are experiencing the same kind of issues in their families as you are. So, again, God bless y'all. If there's any other issues, we're hanging around and you can talk to us about that, all right? Thank you.
For those who may not know, the former Mayor Chokwe Lumumba, we the people's choice, appears, was killed, murdered, so that the clans or the powers that be could move forward with their plans of genocide and enslavement of blacks, African Americans, and the theft, embezzlement, and stealing of their property. They needed House Negroes as former Mayor Harvey Johnson, Mayor and Pastor Preacher Tony Yarber, because they prey on the ignorance of blacks, African Americans, who think that because the politician's skin color looks like theirs, they must mean them well, when they actually don't. The Klan's lawyers are now using House Negroes, who are preachers as Tony Yarber, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Al Sharpton, to prey on blacks, African Americans' faith and religion, to rob the people blind and take their money, place them in their Zionist or Jewish banks as J.P. Morgan Chase, so they are unaware they are financing their own demise, imprisonment, and return to chains. Yes, with what appears to be the killing murder of former Jackson Mayor Chokwe Lumumba, the Klan's law firm Baker, Donaldson, Bierman, Caldwell, and Berkowitz, its clients, and co-conspirators, thought that their problems were solved. However, they never saw Vogel, Denise Newsom, and other leaders uniting together, exposing their despotism regimes and the downfall or the taking down of their empires. For those who don't know, Baker Donaldson is legal counsel and holds a lot of contracts with the city of Jackson. Not only that, they're legal counsel for the President of the United States, Barack Obama. So they put House Negroes in place, or these House Negroes know about their presence, Baker Donaldson and their clan connection presence in deep pockets, as Mayor Tony Yarber, former Mayor Harvey Johnson. And yes, they even throw this one council member out there by the name of Kenneth Stokes, just to entertain you all. A man who himself knew, for instance, that Lumumba may have been murdered or killed. But again, just to keep a paycheck, he has remained silent. Thank you. In hopes of giving a better picture of just how close the Jackson Law Office of Baker Donaldson Bierman Caldwell Berkowitz is to the St. Dominic's Hospital where Chokwe Lumumba passed away, we have prepared the following video. And we're going to let you watch it and hopefully let you see what's going on. And from there you can draw your own conclusion.
So we are now pulling out. Again, today is March 14th, 2016. We are leaving out from the 4268 Frontage Road area. As you see, the Meadow Park office facility, and we're going to just take the route around to show you all to where St. Dominic's is. To let you draw your own conclusions. Let's yield. Nothing's coming. We're going to proceed. Yes, it is very important for people to be enlightened and be aware of what's going on. Get off of the sidelines and be proactive. Because when you remain on the sidelines and just keep your mouth shut or zip, firms as the Klan's law firm Baker Donaldson Bierman Caldwell and Berkowitz just feel that they can just bulldoze and run all over you. That corporate can take and control the government. So basically, I guess you can say we have a corporate government, but it should be what they call we the people's government, a democracy. But that's not what we have. We have a despotism government going on. And for those who don't see it, we are coming up on St. Dominic's Hospital right now. And as you see, wasn't too far from our last stop, where the Klan's law firm is. Baker Donaldson Bierman Caldwell and Berkowitz. As you see, it's not too far. But this is St. Dominic's Hospital. There is their cancer center over there. So again, we'll leave it to your own conclusion and imagination. But the vehicle has a sign on it up there. Only trash litters. Only trash litters. What do you mind? Yes, only trash. Only trash litters. So here we go. We're going on around. And again, just pay attention to the building when we go by, because we're in flowing traffic. There it is. The St. Dominic Health Services. And we're going to get back out of I-55, riding right on around. And we're going to pull over right here so that we can get a picture of something. Right now we've got our view blocked because we have individuals with certain needs. Certain needs.
It is important for we the people to understand the power that lies within them, that they are the employers and the politicians are the employees. In other words, if they aren't getting the job done, or they're in office taking bribes, kickbacks, blackmails, etc., then by law, under the Declaration of Independence as well, you can have them removed from office. You are the employer, and they are the employees. It appears that the United States of America is presently operating under what's called a despotism government. This is a government run by corporate people versus a democracy, which is we the people's government. We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who would pervert the Constitution. Listen again to Mayor Tony Yarber. Dance around the issues. But he acknowledged his aunt's awareness of the power that lies within her to get him, as she called, unelected. But when we come together, if these politicians who are the employees are not getting the job done, yes, you do not have to wait until the next election. There is a legal and lawful way to get these people removed from office.
I got an aunt who told me already that I had 2 days to get her water bill taken care of, or she was going to unelect me, not when the election came, but she was going to unelect me sooner than that. So we hear you. Trust me. We understand, and we want to be as transparent as we can about the process that we're using to address you all's issues.
Yes, it appears the reasons blacks, African Americans never saw the change coming. Distractions, distractions, distractions. Performers, performers, performers. The majority of the churches have become corporations, and their leaders have become government employees, getting paid under their 501c3 status to perform and deceive. Yes, we go there. Political puppets on the Klans law firm, Baker, Donaldson, Bierman, Caldwell, and Berkowitz's strings, and appears being paid to deceive Jackson, Mississippi, black African-American citizens. Just as Judas was paid by the government to betray Jesus, yes, the Klan is going as far as recruiting pastors and preachers to run for political office for purposes of deceiving the churches. Let's not let the legacy and the hard work that have kept us out of chains as civil rights leaders Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and the former mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Chokwe Lumumba, living in sacrifices go in vain. It's enough of the entertainment by these clowns and opportunists. Let's get control of the government. This is community activist Vogel Denise Newsom. For those who want to contact me, I can be reached by mail at P.O. Box 31265. That's P.O. Box 31265, Jackson, Mississippi 39286. Again, that's Jackson, Mississippi 39286. My telephone number is 513-680-2922. That's 513-680-2922. An alternate number is 601-282-7119. That's 601-282-7119. My website is www.vogeldenisenewsom.net. So it's my full name, vogeldenisenewsom.net. I also have a SlideShare form, which is at www.slideshare.net/Vogel capital VOGEL, capital DENISE. Donations can be made at www.cashme, that's capital CASH.M, lowercase m-e, / capital V as in Valerie, O, G as in George, E-L, capital D as in Denise, E-N-I-S-E, capital N as in Nancy, E-W, S-O-M as in Mary, E. Thank you very much. With much love, peace, and blessings.